What's up, everybody? This is J. Monty Thomas. Thinking about starting a podcast? Well, starting a podcast has never been easier. And one reason to start a podcast rather than blogging or starting a YouTube channel is that it's much less crowded and competitive. As of May 2021, there are just over 1.75 million podcasts, but there are over 600 million blogs. And according to the website Herbalo, there are 720,000 hours of video uploaded to YouTube every day and 500 hours of video uploaded every minute. Now that's a massive amount of content. So now may be a perfect time to start a podcast. But before you begin and before you launch a podcast, there are some steps you need to take. Now, I started a podcast over a year ago, and I didn't know anything about podcasting at the time. I just watched some videos and just got started from there. But one of the most important things to keep in mind when starting a podcast is to just plan. Now, I thought it would be fun to start a podcast and have my own show. I love sports and wanted a platform just to talk about sports. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can start your own podcast step by step. Hey, and also, if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and hit the notification icon as well, so you know when we have a new video coming out. Step 1, you need to choose a topic and name for your podcast. You want your podcast to be focused on a particular topic or niche. Choose a topic that you're passionate about and that you can just talk about for hours. So, for example, instead of having a podcast about outdoors, be more specific and talk about maybe something like whitewater rafting. Now, for choosing a name, choose a name that won't box you in and it will allow you to expand your podcast, such as The Adventures of Rafting. Step 2, purchase a domain name for your podcast. In keeping up with the theme of your podcast, you might name it www.theadventuresofrafting.com. Now, there are several places you can purchase a domain name from, and a couple are places like GoDaddy.com or Bluehost. Step number 3, decide on what type of show format that you want to do. You can choose to do either an interview type show where you bring guests on and you interview them, or you can do a solo show. Now, this is the fun part where you can get as creative as you want because it's your podcast, your show. So, how long should your podcast be? Well, if you're just starting out, you probably want to keep your episodes to at least 30 minutes or less. Step 4, you need cover art. This is like the same thing as a YouTube thumbnail or movie poster. This is where you can be creative and make sure that when people see it, they'll want to click on your thumbnail. If you're not good at graphic design, you can go to a place like Fiverr and have one made. Now, I've used them in the past, and you can get a nice piece of cover art done. Oh, and by the way, this video is not sponsored by any of these companies that I mentioned. Step 5, intro music. You need good music to hook people in and bring them into your podcast. And there are a ton of places where you can get royalty-free music. But that's another topic for another video. Step 6. You'll need equipment to get started. First, you'll need to get a microphone. Audio quality is the most important part of your podcast, but it doesn't have to cost you a ton to get a good quality microphone. Now, choosing a microphone can be overwhelming and confusing because there are so many mics that are out there on the market today. But one of the most popular podcasting microphones is the Audio-Technica ATR 2100. Now, this microphone is both a USB microphone that can plug directly into your computer, and it also has an XLR connection which lets you upgrade your recording equipment without having to buy a new microphone. Step number 7, you'll need recording and editing software. If you haven't used editing software before, it can be quite intimidating, and that's understandable. So if you don't have the money to go out and buy software, many people use a software called Audacity. Now, Audacity is a free cross-platform audio recording and editing software for Mac, Windows, Linux, and other operating systems. Step number 8, get a podcast host. A podcast host is a place to store and distribute your podcast audio files. So, here's a list of podcast hosts that you can check out. There's places like Podbean, Anchor, Transistor, Blueberry, Captivate, Buzzsprout, Castos, Simulcast, and many others. Now, I tried a couple of these, but I really liked Buzzsprout. With Buzzsprout, once you've signed up, it's super easy to use. And once you've uploaded your audio file and cover art, Buzzsprout does the rest for you. And what I really like about them is that they make it super easy to submit your podcast to places like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, and other places that people listened to their podcast. Now, the last step is to promote your podcast. Announce it to your family, friends, and to all of your social media platforms such as Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So thanks for stopping by, and let me know in the comment section if you plan on starting a podcast and if this video was helpful. Happy podcasting, and we'll see you in the next one.